Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, since the beginning of time, people have always been pretty bad with money. I mean, people have always spent more than they've made, people have always bought things they don't need, and people have always just avoided the topic of personal finance. But in the last 15 years, it seems like something has changed because yes, people are still bad with money, but now people are spending money like crazy. People are spending their money in extremely irrational ways, like food delivery services, daily Amazon deliveries, and living extremely above their means. And I think that the root cause of this irrational behavior that's making people spend their money like crazy is because of social media. Because social media and the internet has intensified everything. It has intensified the shopping experience. It has intensified how credit is obtained. It has intensified how people spend their money. People are consuming so much because social media and the internet is influencing us to spend money. And in this video, I want to explain how they're influencing us, how social media and the internet are influencing us to spend more money and making us broke without even realizing it. And I hope by explaining a few ways that they do this, you can avoid them and save money. So here are 5 ways social media affects your spending habits. Number 1, bought majority opinion. One of the biggest things that I've learned since becoming a YouTuber is how much of the internet consists of bots. I mean, according to an article by The Atlantic, over half the internet is bots. And one of the biggest things that bots do on the internet is what I call bot majority opinion, which is when a bad actor uses an army of bots to create an artificial majority opinion to influence individuals. Now let me explain how this works. Imagine that you wanted to buy a new shelf. So you went to Amazon and you found one that you were interested in, and then you scrolled down to look at the reviews. And you saw thousands of reviews of people saying how good of a shelf it is. It's a high quality shelf. So you decided to buy that shelf. But when you got it, it wasn't as good as people explained it was. It was not that high quality. And that's because bots created a majority opinion to influence your decision. Those people that wrote those reviews that influenced you to buy a product weren't actually people, but it was an army of bots that created this majority opinion that was trying to influence you, the customer, to buy the product. And bots are used in so many different avenues of the internet. Amazon reviews to influence you to buy a product. YouTube comments to influence you to buy a course. Yelp reviews to influence you to visit a certain place. When we use reviews or comments to make a decision, we can often be tricked by bad actors to spend money. I mean, people are spending so much money nowadays because their decision process is being swayed by an army of bots, and people become broke when they allow their decision to be swayed too much online. Number 2, tribalism. The internet is about finding like-minded people and associating yourself with those people in their beliefs. And once we find our group of people, it's sort of like we found our tribe. And sometimes this can be taken to an extreme through something called tribalism, which is a strong feeling of identity with and loyalty to one's tribe or group. We associate ourselves with a certain group of people with a certain set of beliefs and then spend our money based on how our tribe is spending money. And influencers are sort of the leaders of the tribe, and they guide people on what they should spend their money on. And this is how they do it. Create a welcoming environment to make you feel comfortable. Express shared interest and you become part of the same tribe. Promote a product and you buy it because you're in the same tribe. People spend so much money on stuff because it gives them this sense of belonging, a sense of belonging that really just seems to be lacking in the real world. People will see members of their tribe buying certain products or services and then think that's what it means to be a part of this tribe. When we associate ourselves too much with a group of people with similar interests, we sort of create this irrational behavior that affects our spending. We think that I'm going to buy this just because my tribe is saying that I should buy this. And it affects our spending behavior, and people become broke when they associate themselves too much with a tribe online. Number 3, rich standard of living. The biggest thing that social media has done is it allows us to see into the lives of other people. I mean, for the first time in history, we have a front row ticket to see how other people live their lives. And this has created something called the rich standard, which is an unrealistic standard of living that social media influences ordinary people to strive for. The lifestyle that is pushed out on social media by algorithms the most is the life of the rich and famous. We're flooded with an abundance of content of people in big houses with nice cars, and all of them are Apple users. And whether you know it or not, this subconsciously influences your idea of the standard of living. It distorts our view of what is normal. It distorts our view of what level of comfort is needed to have a high quality of life. Social media pushes out this idea that in order to have a good standard of living, you need a big house and a nice car. And of course, above all, ladies and gentlemen, you must be an Apple user, because that is how you become successful. You just buy a MacBook and you have made it. And if you do not have that standard of living, you have a low quality of life. So somebody making $40,000 a year is spending their money to strive for this rich standard of living that is portrayed on social media, but it is not achievable at their income level. But they are under the impression that they have to go in a bunch of debt to spend all this money that they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't like, because they have the idea that living off $40,000 a year is a low standard of living. When we let social media define what a high standard of living is, we're often pursuing this unrealistic, unnecessary high standard of living that makes us think that we need a MacBook in order to have a high quality of life. And if we do not have a MacBook, ladies and gentlemen, then we are living in poverty. And when people pursue this high standard, this unrealistic standard of living, it actually lowers their standard of living because it makes them go in a bunch of debt. And people become broke when they allow social media to define what a high standard of living is. Number 4, peer lifestyle comparison. The only social media platform that I use outside of YouTube is Facebook. And sometimes I go on Facebook and I see the lives of the people that I went to high school with, who are living very different lives than me. Many of them are climbing up the corporate ladder. A lot of them have bought a house, and a lot of them, a little bit too many of them to be honest, are having kids. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, it is a little strange that they're all having kids at the exact same time. It's like they made a pregnancy pact or something. It is just bizarre. But anyways, when I spend too much time looking at this, something happens that I call peer lifestyle comparison, which is comparing your lifestyle to that of your peers on social media, then trying to keep up. We often compare our lives to the lives of our peers on social media. We might look at our peers that have bought a house and say, I still live in an apartment. Or we might look at our peers that have bought a nice car and say, I can't afford a nice car. And then we compare our lives and measure our success based off how our peers are portraying their lives on social media. And what happens is it makes you feel behind in life, that your peers are better than you. And what happens when we compare our lifestyle to that of our peers that are portrayed on social media is we feel the need to spend more money to match their lifestyle. And the common expression to this is keeping up with the Jones. And social media really just intensifies this concept because we're constantly comparing our lives to the lives of our peers and then feeling behind in life and feeling the need to keep up. But there's a quote that goes, "Comparison is the thief of joy." We're all in different life situations, and there are so many different factors that go into a person's lifestyle. But when we're constantly comparing our lives, our lifestyles, to that of our peers on social media, all it does is make you feel very insufficient and very behind in life. And the only way to catch up is by spending a bunch of money to mimic their lifestyles. And people become broke when they spend too much time comparing their lifestyles to that of their peers on social media. Number 5, insecurity overload. As I said in the beginning of this video, people have always been bad with money. But now, people are spending their money in extremely irrational ways, and it seems to represent increased anxiety, increased depression, and increased insecurity. If social media is good at one thing, it is very good at making people feel very insecure about themselves. And when you spend too much time on social media or the internet, something happens that I call insecurity overload, which is an extreme level of insecurity that makes people buy out of desperation. Social media and the internet makes people broke because it makes people feel extremely insecure about themselves. And when people feel insecure about themselves, they become very vulnerable. Vulnerable to be influenced, vulnerable to be scammed, vulnerable to spin blindly. If I have learned anything from reading comments, looking at the analytics, and making videos, it is there comes a point when you have to recognize that it is harming you and you need to take a break to gain back your sanity and not just keep pursuing this route of insecurity. And once you have your sanity back, then you can think more clear and you will be able to spend your money more rationally, because people will become broke when they become too insecure by spending too much time on social media. And with that, muchas gracias, que tenga un buen día. Video 89, I think, or 88, something like that. Nos vemos, chicos.